قال الله سبحانه وتعالى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذي أنزل سكينة في قلوب المؤمنين ليزدادوا إيمانا مع إيمانهم ولله جنود السماوات والأرض وكان الله عليما حكيما. The Muslim community has a tremendous responsibility living in America. Any Muslim community that is living in a non-Muslim environment has a tremendous responsibility. Why is it so tremendous? It is tremendous because, number one, when you are living under a non-Muslim system, by default, you are going to have to deal with injustice and oppression, by default. Number two, because being here, we are now put ourselves front and center in regards to the representation of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The accurate and proper representation of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And third, it is difficult because if you are here and if you do not take care of the first two properly, potentially you can destroy your akhirah. How? In order for us to be here, we have to be dealing with one and two to make our being here halal. That's where the permissibility comes into play. Otherwise, the question comes, why are you now subjecting yourself, right, willingly to oppression and tyranny, if not specifically for the representation of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? That would justify it. That would justify it, right? Why are you going through all of this? You do nikahs and janazas and like there's divorce, there's all these legal issues and this thing and that thing and subhanallah. And then like they promote sin. So alcohol is legal here and pork is legal and everybody's committing adultery and fornication and prostitution and gambling is legal and weed is now illegal. Oh, they're legalizing everything. Homosexuality is legalized. They're legalizing everything. Why are you subjecting yourself to this? If not for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there is an answer. It's just an uncomfortable one. It's about the dunya. Because in reality, any time that power consolidates, it becomes a magnet. You'll also see it in our history as well. Power has become consolidated. Power and wealth have become consolidated in America. And thus, like a magnet, it attracted those who love money and power. That's how it happens. The same thing happened in the Muslim world. If you want to understand like what happened to Muslims, it was this. Once the Muslim world had expanded and it had spread, right? Now power had been centralized, consolidated. Okay, so now basically, if you're thinking about like how expansive the Muslim world was, well, you think about it, whoever is in charge runs the whole show. Only thing you got to do is get into position of power, and you get all of this. This is your kingdom. So now all the plotting and the scheming and all the antics, okay, of the power hungry, the people who are selfishly in love with this dunya. And then now, once those individuals and their various motivations came into play, this is what happened to us. That's what happened. The dunya happened. Now, here we are in this country. And the situation here has not just here has devolved, not evolved, devolved. The situation around the globe is devolving. To the extent that you like, remember COVID, you're watching the news every day to find out what the heck are they going to say next, right? Now you watch the news, what's getting ready to happen next, right? So now here we are in this country during an election, a hotly contested election, arguably the most important election in the history of this country, arguably. Why? Because at no time will you look and see that now, with the exception of maybe the Civil War itself, that period where things were so polemic, issues were so polemic. So now it's all like you got this extreme, you got that extreme, and then you got the victims in the middle, basically, right? So now the question is as Muslims, what do we do in this situation? Like, people are becoming more violent. They're actually gearing up and arming up. People are like storing food away. The government is passing new laws and executive directives and this and that and the other. Like you're talking about the military here and things that technically aren't supposed to be able to happen between the government and the populace have now been legalized. All of these things have happened. Yes, there's a directive now that now that the United States military, if the state calls the United States military to come in, the United States military can come into your state and into your streets. And they have authorized the use of lethal force. Okay? Here it is. So now you got extremes, which, by the way, like anytime you're dealing with any extremist, you can't trust them. They're unpredictable. They're chaotic in nature. You never know what they're going to do. Just look. So now we have two groups, two sides. You can't trust either one of them. And you're with a group of, it's not just Muslims. There's non-Muslims there too, in the middle of like, I don't want this and I don't want that. So now it's a matter of what do you do in this situation? Two things. Number one, you are obligated to make sure to keep your family and your community safe. You are obligated. Why is it an obligation? Because you decided to live here in non-Muslim lands. If you were living in Muslim lands, then the government would be obligated. There would be an entire system in place that would protect you and your family. If you would decide to like serve, right, as whether it's a police officer or a judge, or that's what they call civil servants, right? Public service. That would be your choice. Okay? As long as somebody does it. Fard kifaya. But when you're here and you do not have the benefit of an Islamic system, you do not have the benefit of all of these authorities and people who are now in the system, who are serving the community and fulfilling that fard kifaya, that means it's up to you. It's on your neck. So whether that means that, like, and hopefully you understand it like this, that you need to get together with very positive, spiritual, motivated individuals, and you need to coordinate together to make sure, because you as one man are not going to be enough. You need to make sure that you have the connections and that you have plans in place to make sure that collectively, even if it's in small groups, that you take care of each other's families. Make sure that everybody is healthy and safe. And if it comes out that there are non-Muslims, neighbors, and they need help and they need security, guess what? It's on you too. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was mentioning the huquq, the rights of the neighbors, the Sahaba thought that, subhanAllah, he just kept going and going and going until he thought that, are they going to be included in inheritance? Allahu Akbar. So we're not just talking about like, we only love Muslims and we hate everybody else. This is not that type of thing. That's not how a Muslim is supposed to be. A Muslim is a source and a beacon of truth, of rahmah, of reality. When you and I as Muslims are helping our non-Muslim neighbors, you are being a rahmah. And that rahmah is the representation of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can I be a rahmah? This is the question that every Muslim should ask themselves when they wake up in the morning. How can I be a rahmah to Allah's creation today? Because we got all kinds of goals. I got work goals, I got financial goals, I got family goals. What about the goal of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What about that one? Because a lot of times it gets ignored because that one doesn't allow any selfishness. It just doesn't allow it. So the selfish find themselves disregarding it. They have their excuses. It sounds good to them. It won't work on Yawm al-Qiyamah, but right now it sounds good to them. That's fine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us hidayah. But you and I, hopefully we are of the understanding that yes, I am supposed to be an extension of the rahmah that is rahmatul lil alameen. That is who I'm supposed to be as the ummati of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So now, protecting your family, keeping them safe. What's the second thing though? As an extension of that rahmah, our responsibility as Muslims, if you want to go vote, fine, go vote. What are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote for? If you're voting based on issues, do you even know the Islamic position on those issues? If not, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to do? Who are you supporting and why? What was the basis of the underpinnings of your thinking that led you to a conclusion without your Islam? And then what part of you felt comfortable having a conclusion without Islam? But it's my opinion. Exactly. You stay with your opinion and I'll stay with my Allah and His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So you keep your opinion. You keep your opinion because here's the thing. Our responsibility in the representation of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to choose the candidate, if you're going to vote, that is going to either one of two things: lower sin or at least stagnate it. At least bare minimum. Why? Because we are supposed to be the police of the world, not the criminals. We are supposed to, what do the police do? They are, number one, they are public servants. Number two, there's a certain part of the law that they know and understand. Number three, they are responsible for the enforcement of that law, but they're supposed to do it with what? They're supposed to do it with kindness, because you are serving the community. But that is a police officer. When a police officer is arresting somebody, you're thinking it's about arresting the person, but actually it's supposed to be, and this exists in Islam, it's about keeping the community safe. That this is an anomaly, this is a poison, this is a cancer, this is an incident even within our community that if not mitigated, it will cause a negative ripple effect. So we have to stop the damage to the community by arresting this individual. By arresting the individual, we arrest the problem, at least in part. So now, is that not us? Here you are, we are supposed to be public servants. We are the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then on top of that, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Seeking sacred knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim. كَمَا قَالَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. So now there's an aspect of knowledge, of legal knowledge, that every Muslim is supposed to have. And then on top of that, we're supposed to do what? We're supposed to أَمْرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيُ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. Enjoin the good, forbid the evil. Is that not what the police do? And if somebody does something and we have the authority, what's our responsibility? Stop them. You are the police of humanity. You are the police of humanity. You are the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now what happens when the police are the criminals? What happens when the police lack that kindness? What happens to the community? What happens to the society? You see this. So now, on a minor level, when you're voting, do your part. Know as far as like, what are we trying to like? Anybody who's for major sins, you have to X them out. If you got two people who are for major sins, promoting major sins, then now this is where you need to understand which one are the most ashad, which ones are the most severe in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, when you're looking at the whole like alphabet soup, the LGBT, AB, all of those letters, okay? They get upset with me. Like this ain't, you can get upset with me if you want to, but actually you're upset with God because I don't have, like, as far as I'm concerned, do what you do. That's between you and God. I am not your judge. I'm not your creator. I'm not your sustainer. Just keep it away from me. So you're not upset with me. You're upset with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you want to express that anger to me, then I will gladly take that. That's fine. But when you have a candidate that is promoting it, and you have one that is not, the choice is obvious. When you look in the Quran, and as far as the Qasas al-Anbiya, the stories of the prophets, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you look at Nuh alayhi salam, and Lut alayhi salam, and Salih alayhi salam, and Hud alayhi salam, and right? Ibrahim alayhi salam. If you look at the punishments, right? On a specific people, Nuh alayhi salam, broad stroke. If you look at the punishments on a particular people, what punishment was like that for the people of Lut alayhi salam? Three different. I mean, think about it. An angel flips your whole place over, upside down, with the tip of a wing. We're not talking about natural disasters here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says now they are guilty, those people, because you introduced this sickness into the genetics, into the DNA of the human being. From this point on, you are now responsible for everybody who does it. So now those people of Lut, everybody who commits that act now, they will share a portion of the punishment. The same way Kabil, for killing his brother Habil, he now shares a portion of every murder from that point, the very first one, until Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's how severe it is. Murder is severe. What's also severe? Homosexuality. This is not about personal preference. This is not about who you know who may be gay or may not be gay, and who, if you like them or not. This is not about like political correctness. This is not about social acceptance. This is about the akhirah. This is about people being safe from the hellfire. This is about our communities. This is about the environment that our children are supposed to be raised in. There's a bigger picture besides the individual selfishness of individual citizens. The needs of the whole will override the need of the few. So now, know the sins, know who is supporting what sin, and vote for the one who is not supporting as much sin. Very simple. Very simple. Especially for those who came and they're asking me, like, I want to vote, but I don't like either one of them. Like, what do I do? And here's your answer. MashaAllah. So appreciative. May Allah bless them for their part that they're playing. MashaAllah. No problem. Okay? Now, if things go sideways, they're already starting to a large degree. You can say, like, starting. I think we, like, we can't even see the crossroads from here anymore. Like, we took that turn and we're moving down the road. Fine, whatever it is. whatever it happens to be. Please, please be conscious of what's going on around you. Have a degree of not just self-awareness, but situational awareness. It requires both. It's so disturbing a lot of times, especially Muslims that live in major metropolitan areas, because Muslims, the same way, it's beautiful, it's ajib and beautiful, jameel. You'll find that it's not, because I just recently, this past summer, fall, excuse me, alhamdulillah, I was with a scholar and brothers in Tennessee. And then we also spent some time in Kentucky with another group of brothers, mashallah. And as you're engaging with the Muslim community and the communities down there, both Muslim and non-Muslim, you see such a huge difference. I mean, huge difference. At first I was thinking, like, okay, like, you got the city people and like Muslims, they generally, they tend to settle in major metropolitan areas, and, and now you see the effect and like completely oblivious, just oblivious. The stuff that's not really that important, they make it like they hyper sensationalize it, right? Put a huge spotlight on it. The stuff that is critically important, it's like, we're going to hide that in a closet, like and hide it from the light of day. But so I was thinking like, okay, these city Muslims need to see like non-Muslims outside of cities so they can understand that like you gotta, like most of the country is not like what you're seeing in Chicago. Like if you think the rest of this country is like a Chicago, you are sorely and sadly mistaken. You don't even have to drive far. Just like basically pick a direction and go 1 hour, isn't it? Pick a direction, 1.5 hours tops. But here's the thing. I was pleasantly surprised to find that Muslims also that are away from major metropolitan areas are different too. Makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. They're more aware, their situational awareness, even that it seems like they're more grounded. And they're professionals. There's engineers and doctors and everything, just like here, IT professionals and everything else, just like here, college students, everything, just like here. But they're more grounded. It's so like it's a night and day difference. Your vibe in the masajid was like completely different. And then we went to one place, right? And I don't want to mention anything about the places. I don't want anybody to know where this place is at, right? We went to one place and you walked in and you felt like an emptiness almost in the masjid, like a hollowness, right? And it's like, this is not a good vibe for the masjid. Nobody was there when I walked in. Come to find out, the community is mostly made up of very wealthy professionals. And come to find out, most of the time, on their time off, weekends off, long weekends and everything, do you know what they do? They come here. So it's like, subhanAllah, you're living down there with all of these benefits and everything, but because just the connection with the lifestyle and the mentality and everything from here, you saw that as soon as you walk into the masjid, it was different. It was missing something that all the other masajid had. Something to think about. Right? So Muslims living in the greater Chicagoland area, please, I am begging you, for your sake, the sake of your families, the sake of Muslims, non-Muslims, the dunya, the akhirah, please wake up. Stop thinking that these mundane aspects in your routine, in your schedule, is going to continue infinitely. That the world is not changing around you, that your situation is not changing around you. I mentioned this in the khutbah sometime last month, I think, right? I am watching a spiritual slaughter, massacre take place in this country on a day-to-day basis. Oh, they're doing well as far as like their education and their jobs and the houses and cars and everything. Yeah. Massacre. I am not like trying to like, oh, he's like using this. No, I'm trying to like, there's no way, actually, the words are not enough. They're not doing the trick here. There's no way that I can express to you what I have experienced, what I am seeing, what I am hearing as I'm dealing with the Muslim community. There's so many Muslims that aren't even Muslim anymore and they don't even know it. And you spend your time like actually like they don't even realize what's happening. You're sitting there having this discussion, they're arguing with you, but you're having this discussion with them and you're sharing information with them to try to bring them out of kufr and back into the state of iman. They don't even know what you're doing because they don't even realize that they're outside of Islam. So now without them realizing it, you have to try to coax them back into the fold of Islam and get them to end the discussion with La ilaha illallah. And it's when we look now, we see weakness in the men, and now we see the effect and the impact on the women and children, the generations to come. And again, job, fine. Education, fine. House, fine. Car, fine. Bills paid, fine. Vacations, yeah, fine. Amusement parks, fine. That's great. You are now the stereotypical, mashallah, politically correct. All you need is a pink sweater. You are now like you are an American dad. Yay for you. Yay for you. You drank the Kool-Aid. Yay for you. Here's the catch. In America, it didn't used to be like that. This was something that was done here in creation of the nuclear family to do what? You had to disconnect the community. When families are connected in terms of a community, they're
you watch on YouTube? Like what sheikh do you watch?
Sheikh, you're good.
I know. Okay, and the second question is, who's your favorite Qur'an? I can't even, other than the question of tell us about how you get into Islam. Okay? Like these, like, that's the top. Like nobody asks that question. Like that is like far and above like the most asked question. But these other two, they're like, here's my answer. To the first one, nobody you're probably familiar with. All the people that I spend time with, all the ulama that I spend time with, they're all dead for the most part. I love sitting with Suyuti or Ghazali or this Junayd al-Baghdadi, Hassan al-Basri,
Jahid, وكذا وكذا رحمهم الله, all of them. This is who I sit with. And if you're thinking like, but it's not that, no, you don't get it. You're thinking like, most of that stuff is fake, okay? It's because it's kind of like when people act how they act because they know they're on TV, all right? So everybody's got their persona. They're trying to like project something, blah, blah, blah. When you're reading these books, these classical texts from these ulama, these giants in our deen, their personalities are also there. And the way they write, the style that they write, the words that they choose, right? Their personalities, you get a feel for their personalities. You actually you feel like you're getting to know them. You almost feel kind of shy because it's like I get to know you, but you don't really get to know me. And then you make dua, oh Allah, like put us together in Jannah so we can really get to know each other. Brother, when you have that, what the heck do I need YouTube for? I know that these people are approved of by Allah because the acceptance is in Allah has been using them for khair for the centuries. Do you have that guarantee from these people on YouTube today? How do you know they're right? Because everybody likes them? Because everybody follows them? Because people like repost their stuff? Is that the criteria now? So I got one person. It looks like he's going to prove me wrong, that there is a benefit to this stuff. It looks like he's going to do it. But I actually am looking forward to it because at least I'll feel like I haven't wasted my time up until this point with all this tech stuff. Right now, this is exactly how it feels. I really don't see the benefit anymore. Not that I really did in the first place. Anyway, okay, so let's wrap up. So dangerous. What is dangerous? Dangerous is you without a community. And that's what was the intent, right? A community is dangerous. A unified voice, a unified stance is something that is dangerous. It is very difficult to control. And then on top of that, once you get those groups together, then leaders of those communities emerge. And now you have to consider them in the political equation. And they don't want to consider these things if you think it's just America, forget about it. America is like how they handle things is actually quite sophisticated and subtle and nuanced in a lot of ways compared to the way that governments will handle the same thing in other countries. And then a lot of times, even in Muslim countries, the brutality and the open brutality, they want you to open. Here, they don't want you to be afraid necessarily openly, right? Because they want you to be happy and they want you to buy things, right? In Muslim countries, they don't care. They want you deathly afraid. They want you scared to go to the masjid, scared to grow your beard, scared to make salat 5 times a day, right? Scared to show your Islam, scared to represent Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the situation. So if you're thinking like this is just the things that Americans or non-Muslims are doing, no. These are the things that people who have power and want to keep power and want that power to grow. This is them. It doesn't matter what they profess to believe in. It's all rooted and based in selfishness. That's dangerous. Okay? What's dangerous? Community. But you don't have a choice. Because for the same reasons that they fear it, it's the same reasons that you and I need it. Because we can't do it on our own, especially in a non-Muslim environment. We have to bond and band together on the common platform of Islam. The objectivity of Islam has to be the core of our community and the focus of our efforts, not the subjective human experience of the individual. Because that's why the masjid is empty now. That's why. They come to make their individual salah. Not community. When you come to the masjid, we talked about it. We did a program. The main thing about coming to the masjid is what? I am part of the ummah. I have something that I have to give to the ummah. We come to the masjid to give, not to take. But if I'm selfish and I'm individualistic, then it's all about like, I come here, I have expectations, there are things I'm supposed to get, and as long as I get those things, I'll be happy and I'll leave. If I don't get those things, I'm still gonna leave, but I'll complain before I go. And then if you ask me, what am I going to do? Because a lot of people come with, I was talking to the brother this week and he said, most of the time people come to people like me and they only like three things: kind words, complaints about anything and everything, all things, and criticism. Okay? If you want to add one in there, idea fairies. They show up all the time. Oh, I got an idea. You should do this and you should do that. And like, you ever think about doing this and you should do this? It would be great. I got a great idea if you did this and like this and like, oh, mashallah. And now I am completely done with it. Now I got two, like, how much time are you willing to give and how much money are you willing to spend? Because if you can't answer those two questions appropriately, then this conversation is over. And it's not about being rude. It's about being realistic. It's about like Muslims, like we got to get out of like, just because you've got ideas in your head that's a reality. It is not. It is not. You had a good idea, great. Now, how are you going to deal with the accountability of not acting on it? When opportunities come in front of us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an opportunity to act in the representation of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam selflessly, and we don't act, how are we going to answer for the accountability for it? How do we go stand in front of Allah and say, well, I was just looking out for me? Okay. I was only worried about me and my family. Well, why you disconnect yourself from the ummah? So then if that person doesn't fall under the umbrella of the rahmah of Allah that he's shedding on the ummah, then like there's a justification for that. You didn't want to be a part of the ummah. You wanted to just do your own thing with your own family, as if like Islam was like a little special thing just for you and yours. But if you're Muslim, by default, you believe in the concept of ummah. And you should appreciate ummah. You should love the ummah. You should want well and wish well for the ummah. And that includes protect the ummah. Protect their hearts, protect their minds, protect their wealth, protect their property. Women, children, elderly, the sick and unable, your neighbors who may need help. This is what being a Muslim is. So my final question for you to think about on the way out of here is this. Are you prepared to do that? Physically, mentally, spiritually. Are you prepared to do that? If not, why not? If not, what are you going to do about it now? If not, come talk to me, inshallah. It's all fixable. It's the beauty of Islam. Once the problem is diagnosed, Islam presents a solution. The only thing that's left for you and I to do is apply the solution. Problem solved. Difficulty only comes in. We don't want to diagnose the problem. We don't want that solution. And we don't want to take the energy and go through the sacrifice that it takes to implement the solution. So not most of the time, all of the time, the issue is not Islam. The issue is what? It's you and I. Islam is perfect. It is complete. There is nothing else that you need. But you got to live that to believe that. You have to experience that to truly believe that. All right? With that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the ayah read in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He is the one who sent Sakina in the hearts of the believers to increase their iman upon their iman. لِيَزْدَادُوا إِيمَانًا مَعَ إِيمَانِهِمْ. Do you feel Sakina? If not, why not? Do you feel at peace inside? Do you feel tranquil inside? What were they doing to get this from Allah? They were following Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam even when it didn't make sense. Badr made no sense, did it? Did Badr make sense? No. Intellectually, from a military perspective, Badr made zero sense. I am telling you, zero, none. There's no way somebody in their right mind be like, you know what we need to do right now? Fight in these conditions. What is that, suicide? What are you trying to do here? Like, what the heck is all that about? You're like, you want us all dead? You working for the enemy? No, it made no sense. They went anyway. They trusted Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what did they get in return? Sakina. To what degree? You're talking about Sakina. Imagine you're on the battlefield, you're outnumbered, and you're thinking like, I'm not even going to see my wife and kids, my family, my job, my house, like none of that, no more. You have to understand, like when they walk, this is not like going to like work on a project that you might quit or like finish it or not. Like, no. They were going out to potentially die. And now you're outnumbered and Sakina descends upon you. To what? It's time to take a nap. So relax, you take a nap. Allahu Akbar Kabira. But Allah did what too? Increase their iman upon their iman. Trust Allah. Put your faith in the system of Islam, the lifestyle of Islam, the words of our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and watch what Allah will do for you and I, for us, for the ummah. وَلِلَّهِ جُنُودُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. And to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belongs the armies of the heavens and the earth. And He is the one that is what? All-knowing and all-wise. He knows everything and He knows how to apply that knowledge accurately, perfectly. Do you trust that? Do you want an army from Allah or you want to go do it on your own? You want to fight in this life against shaitan, kufr and shirk? With the malaika on your left and on your right, in front of you, behind you, above you? Do you want to go do it on your own? With your limited knowledge, your limited ability, your limited resources, and on top of that, you are now outside of your purpose in life. So now the anger of Allah, so now you got to try to deal with it on your own with all those limitations. And at the same time, Allah is angry with you. Good luck with that. Because no matter how well you may happen to do, you still have to die and go answer for it. And that's reality. That's reality. So our responsibility is to do what? Amar bil ma'ruf wa nahyi 'anil munkar. Be the representatives of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam as an ummah, not as an individual. The individual only becomes special because of the ummah. Do you not see it? The individual only becomes special because of the ummah. So if anybody who steps outside of this ummah, away from the ummah, by default, you are not special, no matter what people may tell you in your quest for social validation. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the love of the ummah in our hearts, a sincere and ardent desire to protect the ummah, to keep our families and the Muslim community safe and secure, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the insanity of kufr and shirk, whether it's coming from inside of us or whether it's coming from the others externally around us. or the environment around us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our families and keep our community safe during these, as everybody says, uncertain times. It's the thing. That's like the thing for the 20s, right? It's like, what do you call the decade of the 20s? Uncertain times. All right? I think the kids, X generation, Z generation, blah, 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 because they ran out of alphabets, I think, right? They got to go backwards now. So now it's like, we're going to call this the uncertain generation. Fits, doesn't it? Yeah. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep all of us in the fold of Islam. May Allah ta'ala give us the true appreciation of this deen and the ability to be able to practice it in the footsteps of our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma la taj'alna fitnatan lilladhina kafaru. Allahumma la taj'alna fitnatan lilqawmi adh-dhalimin. Allahumma innaka afoon tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna ya kareem. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-afwa wal-afiyata wal-ma'afat. ونسألك من فضلك يا ذا الفضل العظيم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك